Well, good morning. Here it is, Monday morning, and of course today is December the 30th. We're just about to the end of this, not only month but the end of this year. I hope, I really hope you had a great weekend. I hope that you were able to again spend time with your family, maybe some friends, and anyway, hope that. You may have, still been celebrating some Christmas get-togethers and different things, but anyway, now, God has blessed us with the, breath to breathe here on this Monday morning, and I really hope and pray, that this morning finds you feeling well. Hope it finds you well rested and ready to tackle the opportunities that God has richly blessed us with here on this Monday morning. This morning, I'd like to share a devotional with you entitled Beginnings and Endings. One of the many things that, we can appreciate about the Bible is, that it's such an honest book. I mean, it gives us its heroes, its flaws, and everything. In its pages, we find the stories of those who, started out with so much promise, but then, became spiritual casualties in the race of life. And then there are those who, started with little to no promise, but they finished surprisingly well. Nicodemus, he comes to mind and in John chapter 3, we read that, he came to see Jesus at night. He went incognito, wanting to have a private conversation, with the Lord. And maybe that was because he didn't want to be seen. Now, we might criticize him for that, but, in the end, he came through. Now, let's remember that everything to everything there must be a beginning. Nicodemus, he turned out to be one of the bravest followers of Jesus Christ. When the body of Jesus was taken down from the cross, Nicodemus, he went with Joseph of Arimathea, to take it away. He also brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, for the burial. He stood up for Christ, while his disciples were in hiding. Some people had a great beginning, with Jesus, only to deny him later. For example, Judas Iscariot, he started out with promise, but we know how his story ended. Then there are those who had a good start, looked as though they were, they were goners, but then later came, made a comeback, and they got back into the race. King David was one of them. Like Gideon, he was plucked from obscurity, as a shepherd. God raised him up to, replace King Saul. And for a while, David was the greatest king in Israel's history. The Bible describes him, as a man after God's own heart in 1 Samuel 13:14. Then the sweet psalmist of Israel in 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 1. But then he laid his eyes on the beautiful Bathsheba, and then he committed adultery with her, and then he tried to cover it up, and then ultimately, he had her husband Uriah, murdered on the battlefield. It looked as though David was, he was going to follow in the steps of Saul and then also play the, fool. But he repented and he got right with God. He was able to get back, into the race, and and then he became a picture of someone who ran, fell, and got up again. Peter, was another man who started out with great promise, handpicked by Jesus himself. I mean, sure, he had his blunders, but throughout the public ministry of Jesus, Peter was there. But then Peter, he denied the Lord And then afterward, you know, you remember he he went out and he wept bitterly. And then he came back and he got right with God. And in the end, Jesus, he recommissioned him. You know, he recommissioned Peter by saying, you know, feed my sheep in John 21:17. You see, God wants every one of us to finish the race. He wants every one of us to win the gold and to fulfill our ministry. The question is whether we want to do it. You know, do you want to cross the finish line? You know, if so, you will. And if not, you won't. You know, it's entirely your choice. You know, God gives us the choice of which way we're going to go. And I don't know about you, but I want to be obedient and follow Jesus every day. And but anyway, so I hope that encourages you here on this Monday morning. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, Angie and I, we love you guys, and we're praying for you. And Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless you.